afternoon, everyone. I am going to give you another one of those tidbits that I like to give at 6 in the morning as I am preparing for my third day here at NVIDIA GTC and some of the coolest announcements on the planet Earth, which I will definitely have a video updating you on my own robot build. But this is another one of those kind of generative AI focused videos. And as usual, I'm going to give you the parts of the whole thing. I'm super excited about it. I'm using DeepSeek and OpenAI and Gemini in various demonstrations of tech, and I'm just going to roll with it. I'm going to have a few different things to show you. A couple of you've already seen before, like moving the mouse and that kind of thing. Very interesting, but we kind of moved on from there to kind of more advanced workflows. So I'll just explain this real quick. And essentially what I'm doing is, and actually let me just show it before I do that, just so we get on the same page. Open the terminal window. This one's specific because I've actually created a function that opens the terminal window, and there it goes. I didn't do anything. I didn't write any code beyond when I say I wrote a terminal terminal command. I actually used my new coding agent to create that command, and simply goes back and looks at Gemini and OpenAI and does some reasoning and spits out this kind of output that you see up here. The conclusion of all this will be this brain node that I've been working on for some time, this brain controller. And the idea is to bring together all the different things that you can do in either robotics or in generative AI into one place. And the idea is that eventually I'll be able to speak in natural language to this brain controller, which you've seen in other videos. I'm using OpenAI Live API to do real-time streaming chat. But this particular version of it does not do that. This particular version just hello, tell me what the weather is today. And it says it can't give you weather updates, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you hopefully that came through in the audio. I'm not sure how that's going to work with my AirPods in my ears, but the idea is simply this is a chat with chat response, does not do anything else besides record. And if you add that to this brain controller, which is looping, or the live API, if you wanted real-time chat, you can get this kind of workflow which I just showed. And if you wanted to, you could create a coding agent that then if you don't get the answer that you like, maybe we go back and look at the context, the history. I've created this kind of memory stack that allows you to go back and look at what we talked about previously, and then also search the existing functions that already exist that we've already created using the code agent. So going to quickly run the code agent, create a Python file that pseudo checks the weather. Now, while it's doing that in the background, and this is going to take a second, the idea is that we use all these tools together. Right now I have the ability to look at the screen and control the screen. There it is. It's done a bunch of things. It's created a pseudo function to check the weather. I don't know why it's telling me hello world every time, but if I look at the stack, it'll probably tell me that it tried to open the terminal, and it probably successfully opened the terminal. It's executing a bunch of steps, and what I've done is I've taken the response. Well, obviously, um, I'm requesting structured output from, in this case, OpenAI as a response every time, and a set of steps to be executed. Create a Python function to create a cron job, blah, 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 blah. It's actually looking through the history of what I've done before to answer this question. And then, it creates the pseudocode, as you can see here, which is very, very simple, and then adds that to its corpus of understanding of what it can do. Next step is obviously to create agency based on all of these things. But this is a great step in the right direction. So if you add it to what's already existing, I think you've all seen, I believe it's this one already. Nope, that's a lie. It must be this one. I'm doing airdrop handoff. I've got to close the application. But what you've already seen, me be able to control the entirety of the screen, and this is an example of moving the mouse, and in the screen analyzer and controller, it's actually able to find what it's done before, and move the mouse back and forth. And so, we've got things still running. Let's get rid of all that. Okay, there we go. All right, so maybe this is the Gemini based one. Let's try running it. Another port 500. Yeah. The chat app somewhere. Something is still running. We'll kill that in a minute. The idea is that you use this brain controller and this chat workflow all together to bring us to a point where we can ask things in natural language. It will go check and see if it has a function that it can execute, or a tool that can execute based on our question, and classify the question, whether it's a coding question, or if it's a historical question, if it's a research question, and then use the appropriate LLM as an orchestrator, and have agency. So this is, I think, where the industry is going. I think that you'll see from OpenAI and other companies the completed version of this. Again, I'm one indie developer, but you could take this entire thing, the way that it's built now, and all of these different parts, and put them together and create the output you're looking for. I'll tell you the tools I'm using Gemini for kind of screen grabs, and you can see here like this. I'm asking a question. It's looking at all of my available data, and actually, let's go to some of the latest ones so you can see it's taking screenshots. It's saying, what do you see? In here I said, I asked where the Blender window was, or the icon, and it told me, it was approximately over here, and then moved the mouse to the Blender window, and I could have said, okay, click the Blender window, open it, or, and much more reasonably, I could have said, okay, use this chat workflow that I built that provides steps, like a stepwise approach to my answer, and maybe execute something in Blender, open a window, open a file, etc., etc., on and on and on. And that's actually in my brain node. My brain node kind of controls what goes on. It can take the steps from this stepwise approach that's also written to our memory table, and can execute the steps when it feels it's appropriate. That's highly complicated piece of code that I've been working on for years, not just months. This particular brain node, it's had iterations. It used to be called a workflow, that I used to call it, and now we got into this point. Okay, I think this is a fairly long enough video, but I just wanted to inspire you all to get out there and build with tools like OpenAI and Gemini and Amazon Q Developer. There's like so many tools out there, Cursor, that can assist you in building your dream application. And I'll tell you my stack. I have Gemini running on one end, on this side, and usually Amazon Q when I'm doing work for work. And then on the other side, I have usually OpenAI by Microsoft Copilot running any other window. So they're they're competing side by side, and some have better answers than others. And sometimes I go over to Q. Sometimes I go straight to Anthropic, and I get answers from there. But the idea is one day I'll build up a system that just decides what is the best answer from all of these different LLMs for the same question and what they do best, and let it generate code. It's a little bit of a scary world that I can say, shoot, I don't have that function. Let me go create it on the fly, and then I think one of my next steps is to actually run the function to ensure that it works before adding it to the model's understanding of what agents it has available and what tools it has available. I'm using Pedantic and Pedantic AI as well as LangGraph as far as the orchestrator for these tools. And I've, created, some functions to get me going, some tools that I can just go and say, go ahead and use this tool, use this fallback tool if necessary. You have an understanding of this already. And I think the future of all this in probably the next 6 months to a year, as we sit down and we say, when we're writing code, just create the entirety of this stack of this function from start to finish, and check yourself to make sure you work. Check your security to make sure you're secure. Make sure you're private. And then there's the engineers, which you still need. The companies that think you don't need engineers, shame on you. But the engineers that you still will need to check over this work to make sure that not only are we not hallucinating, but we're not coming up with overly complicated, unreadable answers that are inefficient, but that there's still diversity of answer, because these things will converge on one answer. The more we use these coding editors, the more code that they're going to create that looks like the same code that's already created, and then they're going to train on that data. So we still need engineers to come up with novel approaches today. And these reasoning models, which I've created, obviously in my chat workflow, it's using a set of reasoning, DeepSeek and O3, to reason what is the best answer to give me, what are the best steps to take, what are the best course of action, etc., given the tools that I have. So you can see that it created its own code. It did a limited test of that code. I think one of my next steps, like I said, is to build out an actual test from A to B. The code that's written, did it solve the problem? Go back and reformulate it, etc. It provides a full output of what it tried. In this particular case, that was very simple. It's checking the weather, and then logs all of that. You're seeing the last full output, but you're not seeing all of the full output. And so I think this is fairly long enough. I will stop the video here, and thank you for your time.